the way that these harvesters work, you need to set them up open, being the sieves and the grates themselves. One of the biggest downfalls, I believe, with these headers is that the lack of rotor capacity. It doesn't match the engine horsepower. So you've really got to be careful that, especially when harvesting low and putting a lot of straw through the harvester, that you're not actually getting grain loss out the back and getting rotor loss. So, and if you're getting rotor loss, you're probably getting weed seeds that are going through as well. So you need to be able to thrash the grain for a start, number one, but you want to have those grates as open as they can be. The other setup that I did was there's transport vanes in the top of the rotor. I've shifted the front half of those back to the slow position to just give it a bit more time in the rotor. Does take a little bit more horsepower to drive, but I feel that it gives the material in the rotor a lot more time to separate out. So very important to be very open in those settings. In your concave choice, which these ones have got large skip wires which have got a inch and a half, 2 inch hole in them, 2 inch square. Set them up in the back. Yeah, so have it as open as you can, and do everything that you can to try and get the maximum separation. Once they're on the sieves, anything that goes in the box is good. Anything that can come out and get collected in the chaff line is good as well. So that's the number one thing, is getting it out of the rotor for a start. We're looking at the rotor here at the moment. You can see there are 3 different types of concaves that are in this machine at the moment. Starting at the front, we've got a small wire, 2 small wire concaves, 1 large wire and one skip wire. I'd recommend in cereals to have your 2 skip wires at the back, and depending on your thrashing requirements, possibly a small at the front and a large wire in the middle. We really want to try and maximise that area of openness so that we can allow the weed seeds and our harvest seed to come out. So up the top there, if you can see the rotor transport vanes, they're the vanes that transport the material towards the back of the machine. The rotor is from front to back, has got those in them. And in the thrashing area, I changed those transport vanes from the medium position to the slow position to give it another pass over the concave, so that we could get a bit more thrash, which allows us to possibly open that second concave up and put a large wire in there. So the more thrashing that you can get done at the front of the harvester allows you to open this next second concave up and let more out of the rotor. With our MAV set up, there was a really nice spot where there was a really nice curve at the front of it, which you could stop the weed seeds from getting in. We just used a bit of 16 gauge and bent round to the right shape. With these ones, we'll be probably putting a bit of flat steel in front of those impellers, the spreaders, so just to try and stop any seeds getting into them. So we're at the back of the harvester here now. I'll point out the tray that we take off, just a couple of bolts there and a couple underneath, to make our chaff lining chute fit, and it fits right up in underneath here where the sieves move. We take that off to catch as much as we can. And just underneath here, I was just going to show you how where we were going to blank off with our bit of plate. That will become our baffle. The other thing that we will have to do is try and chop a little square there, so our spreaders don't come all the way down to here. They actually sit back a bit to give yourself enough room to get your chaff lining chute in. We're planning on using those standard spinners this time and actually modifying our chaff lining chute to fit those, just so that we can go back to standard quite quickly if we want to. Pretty simple thing to make. It fits just inside where the toe point is for the header. It's got a bit of square on the front of it that goes in, and you just drop a pin in there. Just made out of light tin, and the bit of rubber at the bottom here sort of gently delivers our chaff and our weed seeds down to the ground. It sits about 8 inches off the ground. Seems to part the straw very nicely around it and drops it down so it's undisturbed. But I think we'll probably try and extend it out to to about here, just to give us a bit more collection area with the new setup. So we did want to put this front panel in just to try and collect any weed seeds that might have fell down the front. So we wanted to try and close that in and get it tucked in right up and underneath the sieves, to try and collect as many as we can, and it's doing a really good job. So as you can see, it's built out of sort of second-hand steel, and that rubber on the bottom there is rubber off a Marshall spreader when we changed the belt. So all second-hand stuff that didn't cost a lot of money, just a little bit of time in the shed to put it together.